Hello, children. I'm here today to do a wonderful poem with you, An Elementary School Classroom in a Slum, by the very well known poet Stephen Spender. Stephen Spender is popularly known as one of the most representative poets of the 30s. Stephen Spender, along with W.H. Auden. Stephen Spender, as we see in this slide, was born in the year 1909 and died in 1995. He was an English poet and an essayist who took keen interest in politics, declaring himself a socialist and a pacifist. Looking at this slide, we see what an elementary school classroom in a slum looks like. And here we can see the beautiful sea and the world of the haves, the world of nature. And nature has always been our first teacher, as we see in this slide. Now, coming to the poem, I'm going to explain the poem in detail, word by word, and let's see what the poet is trying to convey through these lovely lines. I'll read the stanza first, and before I read the stanza, I'd like you to imagine that we actually have a camera, and while focusing, your first stanza actually focuses on some children, and it's nice to see how this camera has captured the images so clearly but all images of poverty, depravity, and the underprivileged. Far, far from gusty waves, these children's faces, like rootless weeds, the hair torn round their pallor. The tall girl with her hair weighed down head, the paper-seeming boy with rat's eyes, the stunted, unlucky heir of twisted bones, reciting a father's gnarled disease, his lesson from his desk. At the back of the dim class, one noted, sweet and young, his eyes live in a dream of squirrel's game in a tree room other than this. The poet has started his poem with a repetition of the word far, far. I think by repeating this word, he's only trying to say that how far in actuality is their life from the beautiful gusty waves, gusty, full of life. And these children are anything but full of life. These children are underprivileged. They have no energy. They are lifeless and they're dreamless. Far, far from gusty waves, these children's faces, like rootless weeds. We need to focus on the word rootless weeds. Their hair, which is unkempt, their hair which is undernourished, looks like rootless weeds that we take out from a garden, and it, gives the color of brown and totally undernourished. The rootless word to me would also relate to these children who live in slum are basically rootless, people who have come from different places, who have come looking for pastures new, who have no roots and have all come here to survive. And these young children, as we know, then become partners in survival with the adults. The hair torn round their pallor, round their pale face. The focus now of the camera moves first to one tall girl with a weighed down head. A tall girl is standing there with her head weighed down. Why do you think her head is weighed down? With the atrocities of poverty, with humiliation, with lack of confidence. Children, she does not have your confidence, your faith in yourself, your self-esteem with your parents and your teachers and the world has given you. This girl is a tall girl who can't even put her head up because of the atrocities of poverty. The second focus goes on the paper-seeming boy with rat's eyes. Look at the usage of the word. Look at these sharp images, the paper-seeming boy. The boy is as thin as paper, perhaps has not had a meal in days. He's totally malnourished. The paper-seeming boy with rat's eyes. And why rat's eyes? Because a rat's eyes is always looking out for food. With rat's eyes. And now the focus moves on to the stunted, unlucky heir of twisted bones, reciting a father's gnarled disease, his lesson from his desk. One child who is stunted, an unlucky heir. Look at the usage of the word heir. How ironical. An heir is someone who inherits lot of property and money and the wealth of the world. But this child is an unlucky heir. Why is he an unlucky heir? Because his only inheritance from his father is his gnarled disease of twisted bones, as we know, is rheumatism. So he's called an unlucky heir. He too is struggling hard with all his deformity to recite his lesson from the desk. And at the back of the dim class, we see one noted, sweet and young. His eyes live in a dream of squirrel's game in the tree room other than this. And there is one sweet child at the back of the class who would rather be out and play games with the squirrel in the tree than go through the drudgery of this class and all this so kind of such superficial knowledge being imparted to them, something which they cannot relate to. He'd rather be out and relate to the nature and learn something for nature. But yet this one sweet and young, I see him as a symbol of hope, who despite the most abject poverty and the most pathetic conditions of this dilapidated classroom, does dare to dream. And we know that one who dreams eventually achieves. Here, this slide shows the child who is standing in the garbage, a rag picker, a hair torn round her pallor like rootless wheat with all the garbage. Far, far from gusty waves, these children's faces like rootless weeds, the hair torn round their pallor, the tall girl with a weighed down head. And here we see, at the back of the dim class, one unnoted sweet and young, his eyes live in a dream of squirrel's game in the tree room other than this. We can see him smile despite the underprivileged conditions that he's living in. He's smiling and perhaps dreaming, and someday he will achieve. Let's move to the second stanza. Our first stanza, the focus was on certain children. And it's needless to say that these children don't necessarily belong to a part of the world. These children work as symbols which can be from any part of the world. The second stanza, the focus is on the classroom itself. And the poet talks about how the classroom has been decorated, how unthought of the Shakespeare's head, the map, and things which the children cannot relate to. The stanza, I will read the stanza first and then we will discuss it line by line. On sour cream walls donations, Shakespeare's head, cloudless at dawn, civilized dome riding all cities, bell flowery Tyrolese valley, open-handed map awarding the world its world. And yet for these children, these windows, not this map, their world, were all their future painted with a fog, a narrow street sealed in with a lead sky, far, far from rivers, capes, and stars of words. Beautiful lines again. The stanza begins with the word on sour cream walls. Why are the walls being called sour cream walls? Donation. Look at the usage of the word sour cream. The word sour cream brings to our mind creamish color, not the kind of walls we have in a classroom which are newly painted and bright and white and pink and blue, but the color is sour cream. The sour cream color reflects neglect, reflects the total insensitivity of the people who are managing the school, why they have not even given it a second coat of paint. On sour cream walls donations, walls which were painted with some donations, some rich person, some politician, some important person in a fit of generosity decided once to donate some money to start education, like it happens all over in a country, and thereafter has never thought of going back and looking at it. On sour cream walls donations, this classroom too has been made with some kind of donation like that. And what all is in the classroom? Shakespeare's head. Cloudless at dawn, civilized dome riding all cities. Shakespeare's head. Shakespeare's head has always represented. Look at the Shakespearean plays. Look at the Shakespearean characters. We have Hamlet, the Prince of Denmark. We have Julius Caesar. We have Othello, we have Macbeth, characters who are all from the elite strata of society, and Shakespeare's Head, which talks about the beautiful civilized domes. It talks about a sky which is cloudless, a sky which is blue, a sky which is clear, and not a lead sky like the slums have. A Shakespeare's Head has been put here, and these children obviously cannot relate to the head of Shakespeare. It only seems so incongruous that Shakespeare's head should be in an underprivileged slum classroom. Bellflowery Tyrolese Valley, Shakespeare spoke of this beautiful Tyrolese Valley, which is a beautiful valley of flowers in Austria. And he spoke of the rich and the natural and the beautiful. And these children know nothing about it. How ironical is that? Open-handed map awarding the world its world. And there's the world map. And in the world map, you can see all cities. You can see New York and London and Bombay and Delhi, and you can see your own city. But for these children, their world is the slum, and nowhere can they identify even one slum. This map, instead of making them feel a part of the world, only helped to further alienate them. And yet for these children, this window, not this map, their world, were all their future painted with a fog, a narrow street sealed in with a lead sky, far, far from rivers, capes, and stars of world. For these children, their world is what they see, the garbage, the filth, the dilapidated furniture, the animals coexisting with human beings. What they see from this classroom window is their world. And nowhere in this world map do we see even a slum. The world map is only enhances their grief and their feeling of alienation. All their future has been painted with fog. Fog symbolizes something which is unclear. Fog shows that there is some kind of gloom, some kind of lack of clarity about which way they are going, what is their future going to be like. Their home is nothing but a narrow street sealed in with a lead sky. Lead sky, a sky which is black, a sky which is highly polluted, and a sky which does not even permit the stars to shine through it. From the beautiful rivers, capes, and stars of word. Look at the usage of this. Stars of words, meaning these are mere words to them, and these underprivileged children, these children of an elementary school classroom in a slum, have never ever had the privilege of ever seeing a star because their sky has been perennially lead. And these beautiful words are mere words to them. They've never had the privilege of actually going and standing by a river or a cape or actually looking at the beautiful glittering stars. We see here the beautiful forms of architecture, we see nature, and we see Shakespeare's head. On sour cream walls, donations, Shakespeare's head, cloudless at dawn, civilized dome riding all cities.